It starts there. The thinking maps are a means to an end. Then we're going to take a look at our assessment evidence. We're going to think about what types of performance tests students need to participate in. How do we figure out what those appropriate assessments are? Once we recognize what students are going to be doing, that's where we create our lessons. And that's where we use thinking maps to support our skill development. Because teachers will work to identify how the cognitive process is used for each map. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Each map is tied to a cognitive process. So if you see your students and children working on thinking maps, what they're doing is they're working on one of the 8 major learning activities, whether they're brainstorming or describing or comparing and contrasting, classifying, finding parts of whole, sequencing, cause and effect, finding analogies. Each type of map uses cognitive vocabulary that supports student recognition of how they are thinking. And that brings us to the final point, which is our metacognitive frames of reference. And what that is a fancy way of saying it's getting students to think about their own thinking. Thinking maps encourage students to create maps and then consider the information within these frames. So for short, you have a green frame. And what that is surface level. Where are you getting this information? You have your blue frame. That's a little bit deeper. You're thinking about point of view and what is influencing that point of view. And you have your red frame, which is asking students to make conclusions and make inferences on the information that they're working with. When students are able to do that, when they're able to learn about their own cognitive processes, this is the results that we can expect from lifelong learners. This was shared to us from thinking maps, and what we see is a college-level student preparing for an exam. You can see they're using flow maps to sequence, tree maps to categorize, brace maps to break down information into chunks, bridge maps to find analogies. The student is breaking down their entire course through thought processes in order to understand where they are. So that's the ultimate goal, is for thinking maps to create lifelong learners who understand how they learn best and apply that information when they're past high school and onto their post-secondary careers. So where are we now? Teachers in the East Rockaway School District have developed a variety of ways to incorporate thinking maps into learning in all disciplines. Let's take a look through we're going to see some of the vertical alignment from our elementary, middle school, and high school students. In Mrs. Grace's kindergarten class, we see our students using circle maps to define words and tell us everything that they can associate with those words through writing and self-created visuals. So we have a definition of career. We have their own definition of what a career is, a job for life. We also have pictures, doctors, pilots, all of these different things that they do. So we're allowing a student all of this different outlets for information in one small map. We're really going deep on the material. In the second map in Ms. Grace's class, they're using a multi-flow map to cite evidence from a text through visual representations, and then they're making inferences about that evidence. Why is that key? This skill is directly correlated to the New York State English Regents exam that students will take in 11th grade. It's vertically aligned into our curriculum starting in kindergarten. Now, they might not be giving the level of analysis that 11th grader is expected to, but they are finding evidence from the text, and they are using that to create inferences. In Mr. Smiley's physical education class, we see students use a bridge map. They're identifying common relationships of sports and then justifying why it's important to understand this information. In Ms. Raffanello's second grade class, students are comparing and contrasting different characters in a text. The use of sticky notes is allowing them to generate their own responses individually and then sharing this information with the class and allowing them to build upon each other's ideas and support a broad and rich understanding of material. This is the basis for the Socratic seminars and rich discussions that you'll find taking place in our upper level classes. In math, Mr. Altamort and Miss Judge's geometry class, let me say that again, Mr. Altamort and Miss Judge's geometry class, they use flow maps to sequence the events necessary to complete a geometric proof. I cannot even fake pretending I understand the intricacies of geometric proofs. But what I can tell you is on the left-hand side, I can see a thought processes in which they are going through a step-by-step flow map and sequencing the events that you need to do to solve these geometric proofs. And on the right-hand side, I see tree maps being used to categorize important terminology and vocabulary that takes place in each step of the sequence. Here we see Ms. Mignola's high school class clearly classifying postulates in triangle proofs. Another opportunity for students to take their information and put it in one space so that they recognize, so that they have a resource to use when they're solving problems. Students in Ms. Perone's 9th grade English class were each assigned a different section of the same reading passage and asked to illustrate the background based on the text. Students then arranged their work into a flow map to identify how the mood progressed in the passage. So you can see each one of these pieces of paper is a different student's work. And then they took that and they identified the growth that happened within the story. Students in Ms. Crowley's Skills and Achievement class use flow maps to prepare to implement job coaching skills. And students in Ms. Best's class celebrate the Chinese New Year by comparing and contrasting their own lives to the description of the Chinese zodiac symbols. This supports their own language acquisition development in the process. So where are we going? What we're going to do is, what we've been doing this year is reinvigorating our thinking maps initiative. And how do we do that? We have meaningful and targeted training for teachers and staff. We're using frames of reference to support metacognition and higher order thinking skills. And we're contributing to 21st century skill development in the classroom. And we're doing that with a focus on thinking. All new teachers, and when we're talking about what the meaningful training for teachers and staff looks like, every single new teacher who begins in our district participates in a detailed training during new teacher orientation. This allows for new teachers to begin the year with a working knowledge of thinking maps, and no teacher is starting behind in the process. All 3 buildings are participating in a structured rollout this year. The rollout targets weekly implementation of specific maps at the elementary level and specific departments and disciplines at the high school level. And time is dedicated at every superintendent's conference day to allow for the reflection, review, and sharing of strategies among our entire faculty. So I go back to here, metacognition, higher order thinking. How do we use this to reframe our thinking? Let's take a look at some of the examples we can use going forward, and we will make it a focus. We're going to continue to focus on taking basic comprehension skills and reframing that information to incorporate higher level application. And how do we do that? Let's look at basic comprehension. Who did this? A common question that we might ask after a reading passage. Well, before an educator creates a question, they're going to look at the blue frame now. And we're going to say, is a specific point of view influencing the information on your map? How do I ask this question using point of view? And I could reframe my question to who benefits from this and who might get hurt, allowing students to kind of process material in a deeper, more meaningful way. Another common question you may get is, what happened? You read the story, what happened? Well, let's take a look at our green frame and really think about that before we reshape our question. What background knowledge do you have that you can relate to this content? What happened? How about what other solutions can you think of? Because we all read the story together. We made sure we know what happens. What other solutions can we do there? And finally, let's talk about how thinking maps contribute to 21st century learning. This all contributes to the incorporation of 21st century learners in our classroom on a daily basis. 21st century skills refer to that of knowledge, life skills, career skills, habits, and traits that are critically important to our students' success in the world today, especially as students move on to college, the workforce, and life. And there's 4 C's that are incorporated into 24th century skills. Critical thinking, and students are able to evaluate information, generate questions, and make connections using thinking maps. Communication. Students interact with others to convey meaning and gain understanding. Collaboration. Students contribute to a shared learning environment. And creativity. Students generate ideas and build understanding and construct solutions. Students use all of these skills to support the development of a growth mindset in which they work to develop approaches to solve problems effectively. This is the key to being successful beyond the classroom and the goal of all of our students. Our mission statement at East Rockaway High School is that the East Rockaway School District respects our diverse community and proud traditions by engaging every student in an innovative and challenging educational program which inspires learners to be self-directed, ethical, creative, and globally conscious citizens. Our Thinking Maps initiative supports our students to become motivated and independent thinkers who are prepared for the demands of the 21st century. I want to thank you, and I'd like to take this opportunity to allow for any questions from the Board of Education. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you so much. I have always been impressed with this district initiative as both a parent and a teacher. Thank you for sharing how and why thinking maps are used, the continued success, and how thinking maps continue to benefit the students in the district, aligning with the district mission statement. Thank you again very much for that presentation. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, public comments on agenda items. If you are viewing the live stream of tonight's meeting and you have questions regarding items on the agenda or other school-related items, you can email them to boardofelducation@ersd.org. This email will be monitored throughout the evening. Please be sure to include your full name and address. I also want to remind you that most concerns are appropriately addressed with your child's teacher and/or building principal. Other general district questions should be directed to Mrs. Ruiz, our superintendent. Matters involving curriculum and instruction should be addressed to Ms. Tomaso, and matters involving budget and facilities should be directed to Ms. Scrio. If you need technological assistance or have issues with the device, please reach out to Mr. Fisk. Anyone who is attending in person, if you would like to make any comments on agenda items, please complete a comment card, which is down here on the table. At this time, are there any comments regarding tonight's agenda? Online?
We're having technical difficulties. We'll have to get back.
For those of you that are tuning in live stream, if you did email, we will get back to you. We are having technical difficulties. And do we have any comments on the agenda? No. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, approval of minutes. Are there any questions from the board regarding the minutes from last month's meeting?
No.
Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McNally. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Moving on to item number 5, acknowledgement of monthly reports and correspondence. We received our monthly reports. And correspondence. We received letters from the ERTA and clerical unit regarding the mask policy. We received emails from 5 community members regarding masks in schools. We received 2 emails from community members in regard to Rock Rivalry. We received an email from a community member regarding transportation. And we received an email regarding an injury of a Center Avenue student. Are there any questions from the board members regarding the minutes? I'm sorry. Regarding the financial reports and correspondence?
No questions.
No questions? Okay. Moving on, I would like to turn the meeting over to Superintendent Ruiz for her recommendations.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Hagan. Okay, so tonight we will be accepting with regret the resignation of Teresa Dowby for the purpose of retirement from her 12-month senior typist clerk position effective May 3rd, 2022. And we will be honoring Mrs. Dowby at a later Board of Education meeting for her years of service to our school district. Also recommending that the board accept with regret the following resignations for the purpose of retirement. Catherine M. Curcio-Payne, English teacher, effective June 30th, 2022, and Doreen Ansell, social studies teacher, effective August 23rd, 2022. Also recommending that the Board of Education grant tenure to Jennifer Itzik, tenure area English, effective March 5th, 2022, subject to continued satisfactory evaluation. Also recommending that the board approve a change in the previously approved leave of absence request of Megan Labrizzi for a leave of absence from her part-time school counselor .8 position and her per diem substitute .2 FTE position effective February 7th through June 30th, 2022. Also recommending that the board rescind the personnel item 6G from January 18th, 2022 minutes and agenda, and further approve the appointment of Michelle Sinamo to the position of part-time leave replacement school counselor effective February 8th through June 30th, 2022. Also recommending that the board approve the appointment of Tanya Cusimano to the position of part-time special education teacher effective February 7th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022. Also recommending the board approve the 4-year probationary appointment of Kirsten Anderson effective February 14th, 2022. And the board approved the appointment of Marissa Deffrin to the position of short-term substitute teacher effective January 31st through February 18th, 2022. Also recommending that the board approve the spring sports coaching schedule dated February 15th, 2022, and that the board approve the revised East Rockaway High School Club Advisor assignments for the 2021-2022 school year at the stipend salary established by the East Rockaway Teachers Association contract. Further recommending that the board approve the appointment of Anthony Barbieri to the position of permanent substitute teacher effective February 28th through June 30th, 2022. And that the board approve the appointment of John Wolick Fitch to the position of teacher aide effective upon civil service approval at the step 1 hourly salary established by the East Rockaway Teacher Aides Association agreement. Further recommending that the board rescind the resignation of Hedwig Renee Macchio, approved at the January 18th, 2022 Board of Education meeting, and reinstate her position as a substitute typist clerk effective January 21st, 2022. And the board rescind the appointment of Jody Condon, part-time monitor, approved at the January 18th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting effective January 26th, 2022. Further recommend that the board approve the temporary assignments at the salary approved by the East Rockaway Board of Education on the non-contractual salary schedule for substitute workers, and that is Alicia Farron-Krug as substitute typist clerk, effective upon civil service approval.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Ruiz. Are there any questions from the board regarding the recommendations made by the superintendent?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve item 6, letters A through O?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. DiMatteo, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kilgus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Moving on to 7 other items. A, approve the 2022-23 school district calendar. B, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the corrective action plan to the Independent Account Risks Assessment Update Report prepared by Cullen and Danowski, LLP, for the period ended June 30th, 2021. C, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the corrective action plan to the Independent Accounts Report on applying agreed-upon procedures prepared by Cullen and Danowski, LLP, for the period ended June 30th, 2021. Item D, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the updated corrective action plan prepared by Naraki Smith for the period ended June 30th, 2021. And E, approve the following resolution. Approval of grant disbursement agreement, be it hereby resolved that the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District gratefully accepts a grant from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York in the amount of $125,000 awarded to it under a state and municipal facilities program to be used towards the purchase of flexible seating furniture for its schools. Item F, approve the following resolution. Be it hereby resolved that the annual district election and budget vote for the Board of Education by the qualified voters of the East Rockaway Union Free School District will be held on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022 at the East Rockaway Junior Senior High School, 443 Ocean Avenue, East Rockaway, New York, to vote upon the appropriation of funds to meet the necessary expenditures for the school year 22-23 on all propositions duly filed with the Board of Education, and to fill 2 vacancies on the Board of Education. The polls will remain open from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. and as much longer as may be necessary to enable the voters then present to cast their ballots. Item G, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the president of the Board of Education is authorized to establish the United for Change Memorial Scholarship to be awarded to one need-based Black or African American senior in good academic standing who possesses a strong sense of social responsibility, is empathetic, passionate, and sensitive to the needs of others. Are there any questions from the board on items A through G? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McNally. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Item number H, 7H, approve the agreement with Carol Hernandez as substitute secretary and authorize the superintendent of schools to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. I, approve the revised letter agreement outlining additional duties and compensation for district clerk services with Nareda Amaya Moran, district clerk, effective February 15, 2022, and authorize the superintendent of schools to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. J, approve the memorandum of agreement with the Nassau County Board of Elections for use of the optical scan voting systems on May 17, 2022, and authorize the president of the Board of Education to execute the memorandum of agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. K, approve the renewal license agreement with Scope Educational Services for the UPK program for the 2022-23 school year, and authorize the president of the Board of Education to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. L, approve the health and welfare agreement between East Rockaway UFSD and Hicksville UFSD for the health and welfare services for the 2021-22 school year, and authorize the superintendent and the president of the Board of Education to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. M, approve the Dell Transportation Corps 30-day emergency contract between the East Rockaway UFSD and Dell Transportation Corps dated February 11, 2022, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations to execute the resulting contract on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. N, approve the consultant services contract between East Rockaway UFSD and CMG Ed Group LLC to work with ENL teachers and co-teachers to develop strategies to adapt instruction and support immigrant learners for 2021-2022 school year, and authorize the president of the Board of Education to execute the contract on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. And lastly, O, accept the following donation from Ryan Patrick O'Shea Foundation, $750 for the Sources of Strength program. Are there any questions on item 7H through O?
No questions.
Can I have a motion to approve items H through O?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Kilgus. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. DiMatteo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Moving on to item number 8, approval of CSE and CPSE recommendations that we did receive emailed home. Are there any questions from the board?
No questions.
Can I have a motion to approve item 8?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McNally, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpez, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. And we do not have any budget transfers this evening for number 9. So moving on to policy matters, I would like to now turn this over to Mr. McNally. I give it to you. There you go.
Okay, the Policy Committee reviewed the policies up for adoption this evening on January 25th. The policies that are up for adoption are 0115, 0115R, student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention. The Dignity Act expands non-discrimination of students in public school under New York state law. The description of race now includes language reflecting the Crown Act, which was signed into law in 2019 as an amendment to the Dignity for All Students Act. The DASA complaint form has been updated and is included in the regulations. Policy 1230, public comment at board meetings. This policy has been updated to better reflect the role of the public at board meetings. Open meetings law requires that board meetings conducted to discuss school district business be open to the public. Public comments at board meetings not only contributes to good decision-making, it also fosters good public attitudes about those decisions. Policy 2342, agenda preparation and dissemination. This is a local policy that addresses how agendas should be developed and disseminated. The update reflects changes to the Public Officers Law, which requires districts to post online and make available the agenda and supporting materials to be discussed at the board meeting 24 hours before the meeting. While we already follow these procedures, members of the district are currently receiving training for Board Docs, a paperless meeting management software system for the agenda and supporting documents, which is set to launch in July 2022. Policy 5020R, Student Health Services Regulation. The regulations to this policy have been updated to better reflect state law and regulations for students in the process of obtaining proof of immunizations. No changes are needed to the actual policy. This regulation conforms to state law and regulations about immunizations, medication administration, medical exams, and other areas related to student health. Policy 6705, federal funds purchasing. This required policy applies to contracts for purchases, services, and public works wholly or in part funded with federal financial assistance, direct or reimbursed. These are the rules the district must follow when using federal funds. It was recommended by the district auditors to adopt this policy. Policy 8130, school safety plans and teams. Emergencies and violent incidents in schools are critical issues that must be addressed in an expeditious and effective manner. State regulations now require that district-wide plans must address the role of security personnel and school resource officers and include provisions for a health crisis such as COVID-19. All plans must be submitted to the respective authorities by October 1st each year. Policy 8505, charging school meals and prohibition against shaming. This policy has been updated to reflect updates to education law. On occasion, students may not have or may forget to bring sufficient funds to purchase a meal. To ensure that students do not go hungry, students who do not have enough funds in their account may charge the cost of the meal to be paid back at a later date. The next meeting of the Policy Committee is to be determined. We will continue to review the 10 policies listed on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the policies that are up for adoption this evening?
No questions.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the policies up for adoption?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McNally. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay, moving on to our reports, I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Ruiz for the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, okay, thank you, Mrs. O'Hagan. Last week, we held the second meeting of our strategic planning committee. It was in person here at the high school. It was great to meet with people in small groups. The committee had an opportunity to review the results of the survey, which had been distributed to the committee previously. We met in small groups of the 4 focus areas of our strategic plan. The committee also reviewed the questions on the actual survey for inclusion or changes to any of them for the survey, which will be shared with all families in the East Rockaway School District. So please keep your eye out for that survey. It will go out to all families when we return from the February break. We will also be surveying our students in the coming weeks as well when we return. We are thrilled to have 4 students from the high school on our strategic planning committee, and I just want to give a shout out to them: Jordan Liu, Clara Cutie, Bashan Jones, and Xavier Thompson. They really, their voices were heard. I heard that in the groups they were in, they spoke up and gave their perspective, which is really important to us, that we hear from them and how they view their education in these Rockaway schools. They made significant contributions to their subcommittees, and we look forward to hearing more of their perspective at the coming meetings. Committee members made some great suggestions, and all of our facilitators reported that a rich dialogue took place regarding their particular area of the plan, which, as you know, includes achievement, opportunity, connection, and innovation. We look forward to the next meeting, which will take place at the end of March. And if there is anybody who is interested, we actually don't have any parents currently who represent the Rame Elementary School community. So if anyone else is interested in sitting on our strategic planning committee, we will be meeting through June. And I would encourage you to please, it's not too late to join, so please email me at lruiz@eastrockawayschools.org if you are interested in joining us. With regard to COVID-19, we have been receiving shipments of regular deliveries of COVID-19 self-tests to share with our school community. There hasn't been a lot of interest, but we do have a lot of tests. So if you are interested, please stop by your child's school and pick up a test at the security desk. Governor Hochul has suggested that families test their children at the end of the break to ensure that they return healthy and COVID-free. So we do have a lot of tests and would be happy just to give them out to anybody who would like to pick up a few, because we have a lot. And they're, of course, doing no good sitting in our offices. I do believe that this information may be used to help make a determination with regard to the mask mandate. Therefore, please come, pick up a few. And if you would like to test your child prior to returning to school after the recess, this is not a requirement, it's just a suggestion. And it is something that's available to families as we've been receiving these tests. In the area of achievement, our Rame and Center Avenue teachers worked with our literacy consultant from the Balance Between to unpack the instructional units in our reading program Wonders to align with our balanced literacy framework. Teachers also engaged in actively co-teaching with our consultant in their classrooms. So we're looking forward to beginning our next literacy cycle after the winter break. And I know our teachers are appreciative of the professional development that's helping them to really zero in on important literacy skills for our children. Mrs. Forbes, our science chairperson at the junior senior high school, has been selected as a 2022 SUNY into the SUNY Master Teachers Program. We're so proud to have Mrs. Forbes represent our district in this prestigious program, and we look forward to hearing about her endeavors and her success. So a shout out to Mrs. Forbes. The junior senior high school received the 2021 AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award for expanding young women's access to AP Computer Science principles. East Rockaway is one of only 760 schools to be recognized, and I believe this is not just in the country, but maybe internationally. But it's a great distinction. So we should be getting a banner or at least a poster for that. So congratulations to our high school for supporting young women in those fields. Joseph Lazaro and Grace, last year, right, got it, thank you. Joseph Lazaro and Grace Weyer were selected as the New York State Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance as outstanding physical education students. So congratulations to these 2 outstanding student athletes. for this achievement. Students in science research are participating in the Northwell Health Spark Challenge. This challenge is ongoing and ignites students' interest in STEM health career fields. Students are charged with creating a poster and a career video about their selected health field. Roughly 50 schools compete in the competition, and of course, we wish our students continued success through the various rounds of the competition. 22 East Rockaway High School art students received a total of 32 awards. I think that's a record in this year's Northeast Regional Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. This year's artists received 7 gold keys, 16 silver keys, and 9 honorable mentions. The gold key recipients will go on to be adjudicated at the national level, and we will be recognizing all of our students at a future board meeting. And their artwork is on the website, as is their pictures, if you want to take a look at the amazing work that they have produced. Thank you to our art teachers for all of their hard work and support. The math department began its first inquiry cycle in the middle school. This allows teachers to analyze data and dig into student misconceptions to identify student needs and create student support to ensure student success for all in this topic. And we just learned, I believe today, congratulations, our girls basketball team has made it to the playoffs. The first game versus Locust Valley is this Monday, 2/21, at 1 p.m. at Hofstra University. If you're interested, you can purchase tickets. We are so proud of our girls and coaches' achievements this season, and we wish them the best of luck as they move forward. And of course, a big shout out to Coach Poland for her efforts. In the area of opportunity, Raymond Center Avenue students celebrated Career Week and Spirit Week leading into the winter break. Students participated in a full week of parent presentations that were interactive and engaging, exposing them to a wide range of careers. They learned about the skills needed for their career, training needed, what's most challenging, what they enjoy most, and about their careers as students. Students also dressed up according to daily themes for Career Week. Both elementary schools celebrated World Kindness. Students completed hearts showcasing their random acts of kindness. East Rockaway High School senior seminar students have begun participating in their internships. They have the opportunity, as they do each year, to participate in a variety of career internships, including education, health, fitness, and IT support. Twilight English at the high school is scheduled to begin during the last week of February, creating an opportunity to ensure seniors that are on track to graduate. The high school is also offering intramurals for junior high school winter sports winter 2 sports, including boys volleyball and girls basketball. Thank you to Mr. Gregory for arranging for these additional opportunities during the winter season. The music department and we all are very happy to announce that this year's musical is Into the Woods Junior. The performances are scheduled live on Friday, April 8th in the evening, Saturday, April 9th in the matinee, and Saturday, April 9th in the evening. So we're very excited to be on track with a new director who will be joining our team for this performance. We had a little trouble getting started, getting a director for our play, and some changes that were made, but we, as you know, it usually takes place in February, but we're thrilled that we are able to put on a production, and we all look forward to seeing that in April, right here in the auditorium. East Rockaway High School Student Council is developing an application process for the clubs and teams to be granted a portion of the money raised by the Buy a Brick program. We thank the community for their support of all our school programs, and I encourage you to go on our website and buy a brick. We're going to hopefully have some of those in place on April 1st and April 2nd when we have our grand opening of our new athletic complex. East Rockaway High School students Madeline Prusha and Clara Cutie participated in this year's virtual model G20 Summit, where thousands of students from across the globe come together to discuss issues of economic importance. In Maddie's second year, she participated as a judge and an advisor, and Claire was involved in creating policies that included conservation, preservation of historical monuments, and cybersecurity. Both students commented on the value of the experience and represented our district very well. In the area of innovation, Michelle Healy is working with 5th grade RAIM students to create a virtual pet to be featured in the online game that they create. Students learning how to use different functions and sprites to create behaviors for their pets to embody their game. Center Avenue third grade students have researched various habitats and ecosystems. From their research, they have created Google slide presentations and shared their research with their classroom. The athletics department has upgraded their registration process and will now be using Family ID. A presentation on how to use this new platform was held, and the recording will be posted to the athletics website shortly if you missed that. The music department completed the video recordings of this year's junior, senior high school, and elementary concerts. So if you have not had a chance to view those, please go on our website. I commend our students and music teachers for these beautiful performances. And if you have not had a chance to do so, please visit. The junior, senior high school science department in grades 7 through 12 has been trained on gizmos and is piloting over this new platform over the next few months. It allows science classrooms to engage in virtual laboratory experiments. In the area of connection, Rames K-Kids have sponsored a Have a Heart fundraiser to raise funds for 3 students to attend the 2022 Kiwanis Summer Sleepaway Camp. Students created a poem, picture, or any other decoration inside of a heart, creatively showing why they love rain. Raymond Center Avenue K-Kids and student council members created Valentines for veterans, and individual students in classes participated were presented with a certificate from Councilman D'Esposito, highlighting their generous and thoughtful cards. So thank you to Kiwanis, because they are a wonderful program that supports students and does provide scholarships for students to attend their summer camp. National School Counseling Week kicked off with the start of student scheduling for the 2022-2023 school year. Announcements in homeroom included coping strategies, mindfulness, and other support that counselors provide. They partnered with a variety of building stakeholders to share this information together. And Career Week is taking place this week at the high school. All grade levels will be visited virtually. I know the high school has a great lineup of visitors who will be sharing their career paths and knowledge and expertise with our students. The junior senior high school chapter of the GSA welcomed guest speaker Kathy Renna to their last meeting. Mrs. Renna spoke about her career as an LGBTQ advocate and answered students' questions about the work currently being done on Long Island and throughout the country. Yesterday, members of the East Rockaway High School Key Club visited the East Rockaway Recreation Center to participate in Valentine's Day activities with East Rockaway pre-K students, like Simon Says, calisthenics, and a craft project of making mailboxes. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mrs. Scrio, who's going to provide an update on our budget development process.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruiz. Good evening, everyone. Our second budget work session was held on Tuesday, February 8th, where we reviewed the tax cap calculation, the governor's proposal, technology, capital projects, and the proposal for establishing a capital reserve. Tax cap, I always say, just a brief summary, it is made of 5 different variables. It's kind of complicated calculation. 4 of the variables are unique to each and every district, so it's hard to compare one tax cap levy to your neighboring school district. One is the same across the state, and that's the CPI. CPI is what you always hear about, 2% or lower, 2% or lower, whichever is the lowest. 2% or CPI, God, I can't even talk. Whichever is the lowest. In this case, it's CPI. So our estimated tax levy cap, and I want to reiterate, this is the tax levy cap. This is the state calculation, not the levy that we've proposed. We're still working on the budget. For East Rockaway, based on the formula as of today, is 3.99%. Now, last year it was 2.6%, and we put a levy out at 1.6%. There is no intention here of putting out a levy at 3.99%, but it is important for you to know what the tax cap levy for the East Rockaway School District is, because it will be put in the paper alongside everybody else's. The governor's proposal was released in January 18th. This proposal provides a decrease of $49,700 in state aid from the amount that we use to build the budget for the 21-22 school year. The reason I emphasize the amount we use is because in April, we will get a budget from the state saying we're going to get X amount of state aid. That's the amount we use when we build our budget. It can change because it's a budget, and it's based on actual expenditures. So the number you'll see in the paper will be different than the number that we actually budgeted or built the budget on last year. Now, I know it's alarming to see a decrease of $49,000. Last year, the state promised to fully fund foundation aid over a 3-year period. We received an increase last year. We received 50% of the balance owed to the East Rockaway School District for the current year, which equated to $402,125. And things continue in the same manner. We're expected to receive the same amount of money next year. Building aid expired this year, and that is the reason why you saw a significant decrease in state aid. We were fully prepared for this building aid decrease. We noticed this in 2017. We do long-term projections and long-term budgeting in the school district, and we knew that in the 22-23 school year, our building aid from our 2005 bond was going to expire. And that is why we went out for a 2019 bond issue, to kind of level it off. As we said, we anticipated and we planned the bond for 2019 so that it would be level. One bond would come in, the other bond would go out. There would be no additional impact to the taxpayers. So what I needed to do is, because the state aid does not project what building aid we're going to generate for the 22-23 school year. Because building aid is generated when the final cost report is filed for each and every project that we're currently running here in the East Rockaway School District. And as you know, if you look around, we have several bond projects that are in progress. They are not completed. And until they're final, all the items are checked off, everything's done, the punch list is sufficiently completed, then I will file a final cost report with the state of New York. That is what will trigger your building aid. So for 22-23, they're not aware of it because I haven't filed the reports because the projects are not done. So certain projects, depending on when we actually file the initial funding and approval by the state, we can get a full year's aid if the projects are completed and filed in time. So I did those calculations, and that will bring to the district an extra $369,999 in aid. So we really are not getting a decrease. It's important to note that, but you won't see that, and that is the explanation. We did get an increase in foundation aid. Our building aid dropped off, and I will be adding that extra $369,000 when I build the budget, knowing that we will be getting that. So I just want to take this opportunity once again to reiterate the district is in financially strong condition. We are really in a good place. We have long-term planning, and we are watching it, and we make sure that we stick to it. Even during COVID, where we had the ups and the downs, we made sure that every single thing we did here to accommodate the students and the teachers and the staff, that we did it in the best interest, both for the staff, the students, and for the taxpayer. We made sure we found the best effective way to meet the guidelines that were placed on us and not impact the taxpayer. And that's how we ended up with the extra $2 million that we used to expand the ventilation into 2 elementary buildings to support better ventilation and air quality for both students. And we voted on that, the use of those funds in November, and the district overwhelmingly approved that. So again, just always like to mention that when we're talking about the budget. Our budget presentations are posted on the district's website. And please continue to watch the website. You'll see the full presentation as well as the PowerPoint. Our next session is scheduled for Tuesday, March 8th at 7 p.m., where we'll be reviewing a bunch of expenditures, making a final determination on technology, on capital projects, and on a reserve proposition. And we encourage you to join us during these budget sessions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Brio and Superintendent Ruiz. Moving on to item number 12, Good and Welfare. We'd like to offer our condolences to Crystal Valentin on the passing of her grandfather, Natalio Mendez. We'd also like to offer condolences to Maureen Shutter on the passing of her mother, Carol Ann Shutter. And lastly, we would like to offer our condolences to Frank Altamore on the passing of his grandmother, Eileen Walker. At this time, prior to the public comment section, I would like to ask Mr. Volpes to share a portion of the letter that we sent to community members in regard to masks. It is important that you know that we fully understand and feel the frustrations surrounding this issue, and it is essential that you know where we stand as a board. Mr. Volpes?
Sure. This letter was released on January 28th after the board had a meeting open to the community. And this is just part of the letter. It goes on to say, to parents and students, we urge patience. We know many in the community feel a mandate is unnecessary or wrong. However, we respectfully ask that families continue to abide to the mask mandate and follow the district's masking rules while the legal process plays out. As a board, our position regarding the wearing of masks has been clear since August, when we were adopting the reopening plan. We have always been in favor of parents having the right to choose what is best for their child's health and wellness, as long as there are no legal or financial risks to our district. We discussed in our most recent meeting on January 28th, the board unanimously respects the freedom of parents and students to make their own decisions regarding the masking. If the court reverses its current position and removes the mask mandate, it is the board's intent to immediately declare East Rockaway a mask optional school district. Students and staff will still be free to wear masks if they choose, but we will not impose a mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Volpes. Okay, so we are about to convene into the public comment period of our meeting. Please be reminded that the meeting is live streamed and being recorded. I encourage residents to contact the board at boardofelducation@ersd.org and to contact your child's teacher or appropriate administrator with any concerns. We believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. This is because we take your concerns and questions seriously, and we want to have sufficient time to process and research issues, if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. Each individual is entitled 3 minutes. The individual time limits will be enforced so as many members of the public who wish to speak may do so. At this time, if you have a comment, please complete the comment form, which is located down here at the front table, and fill it out with your name, your address, the telephone number, and what you wish to speak about. That needs to be filled out prior to your speaking. At this time, if you have a comment, please complete the form. And as a reminder, please do not directly address or speak about individual administrators, staff, or students. Personal issues should be addressed privately. So I do invite anybody that would like to fill out a form to please come down here and fill one out.
Of course. Share them. Please, take advantage of it. Right now, 10 people, but upstairs, 30 minutes.
Yeah. At least 3 minutes.
Okay, and I would just like to remind adults in the audience, if you could please wear your mask. That is a policy that is still in the building, and we do not want to have to adjourn, especially at this time when we do want to hear what you say, and it does matter. Okay. Patty Pignataro?
For supporting parents and giving us a choice in having choices for our children do. And I think that's a big thing, and I'm glad that we have voted you guys in to have our back. And there's a lot of people here for math, but I'm here for another discussion. From a community of first responders and police officers, I think it's disgraceful that we had not one opportunity, but two opportunities for our children to wear blue support and respect the men and women that give their lives every day and protect our kids in this school. And we didn't have the respect for our children to wear blue to support them. I find it appalling. These kids should know that these people are here to protect them, to keep them safe, and we don't have the gratitude to show that support for these people of the community. There were men and women in dress uniforms picking up their children. And it would have been nice for them to see the children come out of school wearing blue to support these men and women that give their life. And I think it's appalling that it wasn't even thought of, not once but twice in 1 week. And I find it ironic that Center Avenue, one day prior to the first funeral, had a 4th precinct cop standing in front of the school, which the parents of Center Avenue were not notified or explained why there was a cop standing in front of that school. But we couldn't have the respect of the next day having the kids wear blue to support that man that was protecting our kids or whoever else was in front of that school that day. Knew why they were blue, and it would have been nice for them to have their school family backing them like everybody else in this community. The community had a candlelit vigil, and we couldn't, as a school, have people wearing blue for these men and women. Thank you for listening, and I hope things change in this community.
Patty, thank you so much, and thank you to your husband and family members for all they do on a daily basis. Thank you. Okay, Jean Maxwell? Sure. And Jean, I'm sorry, prior to beginning, Lauren Galante, you did not fill this out completely. If you could just please come and finish filling this out. Okay, thank you, Jean.
Okay, I'll do the best I can. I want to say that I'm a proud parent of 3 children in the East Rockaway School District. My girls attend the Center Avenue School. I've never been more proud to say that I'm from East Rockaway. I brag to everyone about my town. This community is very unique, and as we said in the strategic planning committee, it's very powerful. Okay? During the pandemic, we all stuck together. We need lemonade at 11, okay? But right now, our children have suffered enough. We just wanted to get back to normal during the pandemic, okay? We did that, okay? Now it's been 2 years. Our children are suffering, okay? My young daughter who has a love of learning wants to join everything. But because of the math, her heart is thinking. She joined chorus, she joined every activity she could join. But because of the math, now, like trumpet, it's not fun anymore. Her cousin in Mount Center, her cousin in Lindbrook, okay? I know it's a different school, and I know we have different liability policies, but guess what? They don't have to wear a mask when they're playing the trumpet. The air is different in those towns than in our town. It's unfair. And I don't want to look at my daughter and say, you don't have to play the trumpet because the masks are ridiculous. You're taking her love of learning and changing it into something else. My daughter, who's in kindergarten, has only known her math. Okay? She's been in 3-year-old program, 4-year-old program. Now she's 5. transfer. She's having social emotional issues. You're talking about social emotional issues, and you're having teachers come in. This is where the problem is, okay? I sound a little angry because this is my life now, okay? I have 3 children at school. They have issues because of this mask. It's doing more damage than it's doing good. Because I see it, I work in a school. I see it at my school. The little kids are coming in, they have selective mute issues. They have emotional issues. We have guidance counselors in our schools dealing with kindergartners who can't express their feelings. They have anxiety and depression. But it just doesn't fall in the school. It's falling on us at home, which is a problem because I'm just trying to keep my head above water with homework and cooking dinner, okay? It's getting a little too much, and the masks are not doing good. We have stomach viruses, we have COVID with the mask on. So what is it doing? I'm not angry, I'm just frustrated as a parent, and I think it's been enough at this point.
Thank you, Jean, very much. Okay, if I mess this up, I apologize. Jennifer Barbieras?
I want to thank you guys for making it very clear on where you stand with the mask when you are given that option. But I do have to say that I left the last board meeting happy, with hope. And since then, it's slowly dwindling. On the 24th, when it was found that it was unconstitutional, we received that email that masks were optional. I was thrilled. My kids were thrilled. The following morning at 7 o'clock, we received another email stating that the mask mandate's back in order because there's an appeal and there's an automatic stay. That stay wasn't approved until 5:30 on Tuesday. So what you guys did, in reality, was illegal to mandate it back. Now, I know that there were emails going out saying that the kids were not being enforced. It wasn't being enforced. I can tell you, I heard that wasn't true. So I'm not really sure what's more important, enforcing this mandate that at the time was unconstitutional or their mental health. Because in reality, I feel like our kids are being bullied at this point. 2 days later, 2 days later, the cops were at the school. And I wrote an email because I was infuriated to have a work session the night before to have the lawyers on to tell us about where we stand and legally what's going on, and to not mention that part of your plan is to have the cops there is unacceptable. You guys blatantly said that by no means do we want the children in the middle of this. Having 2 cops, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, standing in front of the school while kids, elementary students, enter the building is definitely putting them in the middle. And I'm going to receive an email back. I don't receive a response back. And I'm still upset about it because I said it at the last meeting. My kids, they're good kids. They follow the rules. Do they have anxiety? Absolutely. And am my children the only ones? Absolutely not. But I feel like you guys contributed, or the way it was handled in those 3 days contributed to the social, emotional issues that these children are having rather than helping them. So in reality, rather than bullying the kids and pressing them about wearing a mask, what are we doing to address the issues that they're having?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, Dan Caracciolo?
Hey, guys. Good, no? Good. All right, real quick, the board and the school district, and particularly, I think Mr. Shaver, just really want to give him a shout out. The Ed Foundation is coming back this year in person, mask optional, for the 5K on April 2nd. And we're really excited about it being a very large community event. Thank you. Ooh, now I'm too loud. We just wanted to say thanks again to Mr. Schaefer, actually, and the team. There's a really great collaborative athletic complex availing. I'm sure you guys are well aware of the committee and the work that's doing. The Ed Foundation is really excited to be included in the event and the community day that we're going to have. We're very excited. Thank you for including the Ed Foundation, and sign up for the 5K if you want to sponsor anybody. Dom, I don't know. Let me know. All right, I'm going to beat you. I swear. No, I'm just kidding. You beat me last year. I'm just kidding. So seriously, sign up for the 5K. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I guess you remember last time I was here. This time you guys actually brought something up that I want to talk about. In 2010, the New York State Dignity Act was signed into law and took effect as of July 2013. Under this law, schools are responsible for collecting and reporting data regarding material incidents of discrimination, harassment, and bullying. Section 2801 of Article 2 of the Education Law also amended requiring Board of Educations to include language addressing the Dignity Act in their code of conduct. Praise to you, because that's what you did tonight, right? The bullying, intimidation, and harassment of our children by certain members of the district of East Rockaway School, I can't say names, so blah, 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 falls under this law and must be reported. On January 24th, the Supreme Court ruled that mask mandates were illegal. On January 25th, the governor appealed the ruling. I'm sure that every parent is aware that on the morning of January 26th, a district-wide email went out from the superintendent stating that the mask mandates would remain in effect, and the governor had appealed the ruling and that an automatic stay was put in place. However, how many parents are aware that this was a blatant lie put forth by the superintendent to intimidate parents and enforce an illegal mandate? There was no stay in place. How many parents are aware that the stay was only put in place that evening? And how many parents are aware that a few parents who challenged this lie sent an email stating that the mask would be optional until the stay was in place? I'm guessing not that many, since the email was only sent to a few people. It was not sent district-wide and was kept a secret from most in the district. And for the majority of our children, the illegal mask mandates were enforced. Children were forced to comply with a mandate that was illegal. On the morning of January 27th at Center Avenue, district members of the schools stood outside the drop-off area with a police officer in order to intimidate, bully, and scare parents and children into wearing their masks. After drop-off, the same people, excluding the police officer, went through the school, pulling kids from their classrooms and forcing them to either wear the mask, go to a segregated classroom, or go home. Our children were bullied. There were other accounts of bullying, intimidation, and harassment. But I won't go into that right now, because I'm sure a lot of people out here know exactly what I'm talking about. So, to the board, I ask you to please stand up, protect our children, now that you are aware and please follow the letter of the law of the Dignity Act and report these incidents of bullying, intimidation, and harassment. Thank you.
Can I take this thing out? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right. So at the board working session with legal counsel, I found that very helpful. Thank you for having that. But there was a question that was asked that wasn't sufficiently answered. And so I'd like to ask it again. And I know you're not going to respond tonight, but someone asked about the consequences of noncompliance for the mask mandate. And the response was that we would lose funding. But what does that look like? How do we lose funding? Where do my tax dollars go? What is the process? How does the state invoke, not giving us our funds? Is it just COVID funds, regular funding? What happens? They shut down our school. They tell me my kid can't get a free education. So what are the ramifications? Because we all know what's coming next. The next mandate is going to be get vaxxed. And I'm not doing that. I don't want my kid to be vaccinated. So thank you. I need to know, do I need to move out of state? Or what's the position? Thank you.
I appreciate the time to speak this evening. I find it interesting that I'm limited to standing behind this microphone right now. And if I attempted to approach this table and speak to any of you and ask you questions, although politely, while you're seated, I wouldn't be allowed to do that because that would be considered dominating the physical space around you. It would be considered an intimidation tactic. It would be bullying. Now, we wouldn't tolerate that here at a school board meeting, but where we did tolerate it was in this young man's classroom, a second grader. On Tuesday of that week in question, my son went to school without a mask on because he was allowed to go in without a mask on. He was asked one time, would you like to put a mask on? And he said, no, thank you, very politely. The following day, Wednesday, my son went to the Center Avenue School without a mask on. He was asked one time, would you like to put a mask on? He politely responded and said, no, thank you. On Thursday morning, I was greeted by two high-ranking officials in the district and a Nassau County police officer, lurking and stalking the drop-off line to make sure children were muzzled. And this young man right here was brave enough to walk into Center Avenue without his mask on. And he went to his classroom. Yes, thank you. And he went to his classroom and he sat down and instruction started. Remember this, instruction began just like it did the previous 2 days. There was no disruption to the learning environment or the instructional environment for those 2 days without a mask. But suddenly on Thursday, Rocco Corrado caused a disruption to the learning environment, so much so that two high-ranking district officials felt the need to stop instruction, to enter that classroom, and to stop every student, including the teacher, to say, please put your masks on. This gentleman sat quietly and said and did nothing, just like he'd done the past 2 days. Then he was physically approached with one individual standing in the doorway and the other individual walking directly up to him. Asked him what his name was, and my son replied, my name is Rocco Corrado. He was then asked, can you please put a mask on? And he responded and said, no, thank you. He was then asked, would you like to please leave the room so that we can talk? And he once again said, no, thank you. My child said no thank you to wearing something that we as a family have sincerely held beliefs against. And would you like to know what happens when you say no thank you? This child was suspended from school on Friday and Monday. The individuals who stood close to my child leered over him, tried to coerce, bully, intimidate, and shame him in front of his peers, still continue to collect six-figure paychecks. The fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, as they told you in their presentation, This district is concerned about federal dollars and lawsuits, and they are not going to listen until those things are on the table. You think you have protected your federal dollars and your lawsuits, but please understand what I am telling you. You have opened up a huge can of legal worms regardless because of your refusal to listen to parents who want to do what's right for their child. My child was bullied. He is experiencing issues because of what you are all continuing to put him through because they're just doing their job. So please understand what the justification is. They can bully your child. They can make them come home crying because it's just the job that they have to do. Well, I have a job as a parent to do, and it starts tonight. None of you have ever heard from me before. None of you ever greeted me at the door of Center Avenue. No one from the district ever said, "Hi, Mr. Corrado. How's your son's experience been? How's he handling the trauma of a pandemic? Is he doing okay with the mask?" No, the first thing he wanted to know from me was, when's he putting his mask on again? That's the first conversation I had with half the people sitting at this table. Well, guess what? My name is Matthew Corrado, and this is Rocco Corrado, and you will continue to hear from us. He submitted a paper and would like his 3 minutes later on as well. Thank you.
Thank you. How I feel about the masks is, like, with them on, when you cough or sneeze, you get it back in yourself. It's not doing anything. It's hurting kids, not helping. And it just concerns me. I don't like the masks. Neither does anybody in my classroom. Neither does my teacher. None of the teachers do. None of the students do. When are we going to get rid of these masks? They're annoying. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to start by saying that today, New York State's positivity rate was 2,317 in the entire New York State, but our kids are still masked. I also would like to ask the board why we as a school district have not sent any letters to Hochul against anything that's going on right now. All these other districts and our surrounding us have sent letters, multiple letters. We have sent 0. That speaks volumes. I was raised here in East Rockaway. My husband was raised here in East Rockaway. Could not wait till my children got into East Rockaway High School so they could participate in rock rivalry events and sports night. We are now here. I have a 9th grader. She can participate with her mask on, of course. We were told that 90,000 times in the presentation. But we can't, as her parents, be supporting her at those events because no spectators are allowed. However, in surrounding districts, parents are invited into schools for various reasons, plays, sporting events, multiple other things. I need more clarity. I have sent the emails, and I need more clarity as to where these directives, guidance, guidelines, whatever you want to call them, mandates, what rules, procedures, policies, all these new words we come up with, as to why I can't be at sports night to see my child play. For my son who goes to Rame Avenue, field trips have been canceled. They were told they would be rescheduled. When are they going to be rescheduled? We're at 2,317 positive cases in New York State, as announced by Hochul today. Why can't the kids go on field trips? Why was Career Week virtual? Don't understand it. Why can't people visit the school buildings? We are all here now. Why can't we visit school buildings? I don't understand. The high school lunchroom, still in rows, still with the barricades up. Why? We go to restaurants. I guarantee you this board has been at restaurants at a table like normal people with no masks on. Why is my child still eating like she's in a jail? It doesn't make sense. So we need clarity as a community as to what rules, regulations, and guidelines we are following, because every district apparently is making up their own, and ours has done nothing to make anything better. And that's how we feel. You want to show your picture? You want to show? Yeah, go.
As a student of East Rockaway Junior Senior High School, I have continuously been bullied and harassed and come up to and approached by multiple teachers and multiple administrators who have told me to put my mask up multiple times when I have not felt comfortable, or when I have been told to wipe down my desk when that has never been told or a rule that we've ever had before, besides when we first had COVID in the 7th grade. It is not a rule now. I don't understand why I was being forced to wipe down my desk when it's just not a rule. But
And you're a student here, so you're not so equal to do that.
yep, and then nobody else in any other classroom from any other teacher had to, besides this one teacher in this one classroom. That's it.
Last thing, I'll just show my son, who's an artist, and he doesn't want to speak. He's in 5th grade, so COVID started, he was in 3rd. This is how he draws his friends now. Because this is all he sees in school. So when he's drawing in school, he's drawing his friends with a mask on. That's something that needs to be addressed, guys. That's social emotional. Right? Like, we have to fix this. Thank you.
So she pretty much said everything that was on my list. Normalcy, we talked about it last time, and where is it? I can show you proof. Belmore School had a 100-day of school. The parents were invited into the school. They didn't have masks on. I have pictures of them with their children in the school not wearing a mask. Center Reach had a concert, a winter concert. Both parents were allowed in the school. They did not have a mask on unless they wanted to. So why is that okay? And why are we not able to do any of that? Okay. So also, don't we want to show the children that this is what we could be doing? They're suffering so bad, and I know you keep hearing it, but does anyone actually care? Because your heads have both been down the entire time everyone is speaking. Do you care at all about the children, or it's just... Okay, because you're just... And I just want to know why gym, in the reopening plan, they were allowed to they didn't have to wear the mask. And now in gym, they have to wear the mask. And the masks are soaking wet. These children are breathing in, like they all said, their own saliva, their own spit. Kids have strep throat like constantly. Their lips are falling off, their chaps. Why is that okay? Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. And then also you spoke about air filters. Okay, where is that? Where are we not seeing that? Are you putting HEPA filters in? What are you doing to keep the air clean then for when we do take the masks off? And we can keep the air clean for the children, so then we don't have to worry about putting masks back on. So will that be an option? Okay. Okay. And how come we weren't notified of like these things? How come we can't get like a list of what's actually going on in the school and where the money is going to? Is that I don't know. I have a first grader, so I'm not really sure, but is that Okay, okay. Um, I'm sorry, I was taking notes the entire time you were. And I just want to know if you guys all think that the Super Bowl, all the people that were in the stadium without a mask, and now, doesn't that show the kids like something? The kids were all watching the TV, seeing all the other people, and now they have to go into school with a mask on. And also another thing, the security guards, I do not think that they should be approaching young children. They walk, my daughter walks in the door, bopping into the door. I tell her she could put her mask on when she gets to her desk after she settles in. I'm not shoving a mask on her face with her hat and her backpack and everything else. And I have a security guard hiding in the door. Put your mask on. You know what that sounds like to a first grader? She's like startled. Like, that's not okay. Don't startle my child. Don't approach my child, and don't talk to my child. When she gets to her desk, she absolutely knows what she has to do. So.
So I don't have COVID. I sound like this all the time, okay? I'm not sick. I'm going to make this really short and simple. My son missed over 100 days of school last year. He's missed probably about 20 this year. My son, never sick, never tested positive, has no antibodies. No healthy child should miss this much of school. My kid had wonderful grammar school life, kindergarten, sharing is caring, socializing, hugging, say please and thank you, we all have magic words, doing all that stuff. My son saw his friends' faces. My son saw all of his teachers' faces. What are you doing to these kids? And my son is having a problem after 1 year of this bull BS, okay? He had 10 wonderful years of school and education. In 1 year, you're destroying a 17-year-old's life. What are you doing to these kids? It's not fair. They have mental health. My kid doesn't even know how to write a paper after missing 125 days of school. You're sending him to college because no kid's left behind in New York. But my kid's going to go to college and doesn't even know how to write a paper. Doesn't even know what geometry or algebra is. So all the schools that he's missed. And these kids are the beginning of the future, and look what you're doing to them. And now my kid missed out on lacrosse, colleges, scholarship, everything. And now he's smoking pot in the backyard with who knows who. And this is what you're doing to these kids. Just to let you know, not seeing your teachers' faces, not seeing your friends. These kids are going to be on medication for the rest of their life. And these meds is what commits suicide. So if you really want to worry about your liability in this district, worry about their mental health.
Always in the past, we've been very conservative, our district, with financial liability, lawsuits, and such. My thought was, maybe if we have an opt-out option for parents with masks, relieving the school of any liability when it comes to, because we don't know moving forward what she's going to do. If in March, she's going to say, well, let's extend it to April. If next year, she's going to say, let's, vaccinations. So maybe as a district, relieving the school of any financial liability, we can have an opt-out like we do with the state testing. So this way, when parents want their children not to wear a mask, they can sign a waiver and say, look, we're relieving you of any financial responsibility. Just a thought.
Thank you all very much for sharing. Again, your concerns do matter, and definitely just especially enough to be dealing with this with our own children. At this point, we are going to move on to our board member comments, and I'm actually going to start with the superintendent's perspective. The superintendent's position was posted on the district website and OLA with the closing date of February 11th. Oh, I'm sorry. See, now I hear myself, so I'm fine. Okay, that's better. Okay. Superintendent search update. The superintendent position was posted on the district website and OLAS with a closing date of February 11th. In the past month, I have spoken with Syntax, our district PR firm, and legal counsel. The board held a work session on Saturday, February 5th, and we adjourned into an executive session to meet with Mr. Lederer, our consultant, to review applicant resumes that we had received as of February 4th. We created a list of applicants for initial screenings, and we updated our timeline. On February 8th and February 10th, there were 5 applicants screened. Additional resumes will be reviewed this week, and additional screenings will take place the week after winter recess. An invitation was sent to all stakeholder group leaders to form a district advisory committee. The board intends to conduct initial interviews on March 16th, and candidates will be interviewed by the district advisory committee on March 21st. Updates to the community will continue monthly at each board meeting. It is our goal to appoint the successful candidate in the spring. And I'll save the rest of my comments for the end. I guess we'll start with Mr. McNally.
I heard everything that all of you said, and I can't even tell you the conversations we've had as a board on the mask nonsense. And it is nonsense. I'm a teacher as well, and I see it in my students. They can't see my face. I can't see their face. We're both missing out. I was on the field at lunchtime with 6th graders last week. A couple of kids didn't even know who I was. They said, "Mr. McNally, that's you? Well, we've never seen you before." It's crazy. And how they're missing out in class on, they don't take in as much. There have been studies done. Over 80% of what students learn, they learn visually, by facial expressions and stuff. So I feel everyone's pain. You know, as a board, we don't want these masks. When this first came down, and we thought that the only thing that Governor Hochul would do was remove board members. We were like, okay, remove us. At least our kids don't have to wear the mask. But when they said, we lose state funding, that's millions of dollars that would directly affect our children. Now, March 2nd, I believe it's March 2nd, right? The stay? March 2nd is the stay. Connecticut and New Jersey have both said that masks will be optional. Now, we really think March 2nd is the date. If it's not, there's going to be, other things. I really can't see with Connecticut and New Jersey both saying the masks will be optional. I hope Governor Hochul does the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. The hardest thing an educator has to do, being an educator for 42 years and in the education business for a total of 45 years, the hardest thing an educator has to do is to hear their students not be happy. This morning, I took part in what we're doing now, the virtual, career day. And I do that every year. And questions are asked to me, but one question hit me right through the heart. And that was, what was your greatest accomplishments during your time in the schools? I broke down. Ask any one of your kids who may have been in that presentation. I couldn't talk because you know what I said to them? Their smiling faces. That turned me on every day. And I have former students out in the audience here, and you know what I mean by that. Every day. Everybody enters education. Everybody. And if they don't, then they're in the wrong business to service children, to give them the best of what we have so that they have the best in their futures. We're surrogate parents. Surrogate parents during the course of the day. They do their best. We do our best. Okay? As you are put over the barrel, so are the teachers. So are the schools. We want to move forward out of this. We want to get out of the minutia. We are working hard. As far as the letters go and all of that, for what? What does that show? It shows nothing other than we have worked our butts off as a board. We've met extra sessions going on and on about how we're going to work, and we get stuck. We're in the minutia, but we're in the end. And I have to tell you something. I appreciate tonight, as I appreciated doing Career Day today. It's a reflection. When we sit up here, all of the notes that I've taken, we have our work sessions. We have our executive sessions. And don't think when you sit here tonight and you hear the agenda go and we say, you know, okay, right, and we pass it, and you say, what do you do as a board? That's nothing. Tonight is the show. Tonight is just a passing of what we put out there on the agenda. When we meet in those executive sessions, sometimes 2-3 hours, working over how we're going to work this out. We're going to get through this. And you know why? Like I told the kids today, East Rockaway's always been a community, and it always will be a community that stands by each other. I have 2 police officers as children. I have my daughter's 2 more police officers coming into the family. You don't think that breaks my heart? You don't think I get shot by a bullet every time? My kids go out and I worry about them getting home. We're all in the same boat. The one thing we have to do is stay together. We have got to stay together. I know it's hard. And I know that we all know that when somebody makes that remark that gets under your crow, we need to strike back. I hope tonight, okay, that the board giving you the opportunity again, okay, to speak out, to take on notes, all right, to be prepared, because that's the best way we can do it. We can only be prepared from listening to you. And I thank you, because I heard some nice support tonight, okay, about what we get together about and what we do and what we care about. We care about you. We care about every child that's here. We're in it for the kids. This is what we do. This is why all the years I've been in education, and I know that I'm going to speak for all my board members in one thing, knowing them all. 2 former students over here, okay? Don't you think I know them from the years that they've been around? Okay? My across the street neighbor in education, okay? Kristen, who's been involved in the recreation department, I know her for 25 years, 26, 27 years now. We know we are working hard at what you want. We'll get there. We will get there. I promise you we'll get there, one way or another. But we heard everything tonight, okay? And we will do our best in the realm of what we had to take oath on. And like every person in office has to take an oath, okay, to service the community in the way by abiding as law-abiding citizens. That's the bottom line here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. DiMatteo?
I just want to say, number one, to the parents and to the children and everyone that got up and said how they felt and what they've dealt with and what they've been through here. I'm with you 1,000%. Enough is enough. It's time to move forward. I promise you, as Dominic just said, we're doing everything in our power to get past this. There's not anyone up here that is okay with this, that thinks it's normal, that it's an absolute disgrace that this is how we have to live. This is not America. We're very, very clear on how we feel and how we want to move forward together. I thought you said everything really, really beautiful too, by the way. We have to stick together, get involved. You want to make a change? Run for the board. You want to make a change? Set up groups, set up committees. Reach out to us, send us an email. I mean, there was a bunch of great ideas that were thrown out tonight, and I wrote all of them down, at least the ones I thought were good. So again, we want to circle back to you guys. We want you to be involved. This is the biggest board meeting I think we've seen since I've been on the board. 100%. This is what it's about. You have to bring more people with you, or else your ideas will never be heard. We appreciate you. We support you. We hope that you have the support back. And together as a team, we'll get through this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
I don't even really know how to follow that because I agree 100%. It's great to see everybody here and hear what you have to say. You see me pulling my mask down. I mean, I have Vaseline to my lips. I'm over this as well. So I have 3 children in the district. They're all having the same issues we spoke of tonight. Rocco, great job up there, buddy. I'm proud of you. Good job. All right. But like we're all saying, we have your back. We have to stand together. And come March 2nd, if things don't change, then maybe we have to reconvene about certain things. But right now, we're going to stay the course. Let's see how it goes and just stick with us. We have your back. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Oh, wait, I think I need to conclude it. This concludes tonight's meeting at 9:31. So moved by
So
Mr.
moved.
McNally. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. DiMatteo. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you again.